Ads not read by me, Mary Payne, don't necessarily reflect the views of Pink Shade. If you'd like to listen to ad-free, you're going to go on over to Supercast or Patreon, and you can find the links to Pink Shade Prime at pinkshadepodcast.com. Hey everybody, welcome to Pink Shade. It's Thursday, and that means it is barely Bravo. That means we're going to talk about Bravo a little bit. We're going to talk about other stuff. Still haven't come up with a great name for Thursdays. It's Bravo, but it's not. It's sort of whatever I want it to be. I've got some great interviews coming up that are going to be in this slot. I don't know. But anyway, I'm lucky today because I have the king of all media. That's my new name for him, Ryan Bailey. And Ryan is going to talk to us about Bravo. He's going to tell us about being in New York for the RHONY party. Ryan, welcome back to Pink Shade.
What about Bravo in the Shade? What about the
that's good.
I'm trying to think of Slim Shady. I'm trying to think of Shady.
I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get sued by Eminem.
Yeah. But maybe you do actually. You know what kind of free advertising that is if you get sued by Eminem? I mean, listen, you relent immediately and say sorry, but you can't buy that kind of advertising. When he did that with those Green-Eyed Bandits, I'm sure they secretly loved it because they got to go around saying Eminem sued them or tried to or threatened to.
All right. So Thursday's episode is going to be called Mary Payne, the Real Slim Shady.
And then in parentheses say, don't sue Ryan.
It was Ryan's idea. Oh my God. Well, I was just telling Ryan before we got started that I was glad to see that he took an Alaskan vacation. I've been on that Alaskan cruise. Did your guy come on every so often and be like, on the left side on the starboard is an orca? That's all the time.
There was one day they had us all wake up at like 6 a.m. because we were going up to the glacier. And they turn around at that point because you can't go any further. So everybody, was told that we were approaching it. So everybody woke up at 6 and went out to the balconies, and it was really amazing. And then I was like, all right, time to go back to bed. All right. It was a beautiful, but it truly is so beautiful. You living in Los Angeles, it's hard to believe that there are places like that. Los Angeles is beautiful in its own way, but this was just stunning. Juneau especially blew me away, but it really truly was amazing. And it's hard though, because those cruises don't have a Wi-Fi signal. So you're completely lost in the Bravo sphere. You're like, if Raquel and Tom had been cheating on each other and we found out during that week, I would have been completely screwed.
It would have really, really ruined the trajectory of your whole podcast.
Oh, I would have jumped off the ship. I would have literally man overboard. I would have just been swimming to try to get a Wi-Fi signal. Because you go on Instagram and you'd see a few posts and then it would crap out. And it was, it was like, what am I going to learn to read again? I had a book with me, but it's like that when you bring a book, just to show people you have a book and you have no intention of opening the book because you're like, I have my phone, that's my book. And then it was you're like, damn, this is how the settlers used to do it, I bet.
I know. Well, did you feel like you gave your brain a little break and then now you got to retrain your brain to go back to working 9 days a week?
Yeah, it's like a bike. You get it back on. It's pretty easy. You're like, okay, these ladies are still doing exactly what they should be doing and will be doing. And, nothing changes. When you stop for a couple of days, though, it does. Like I said earlier, it's hard to get back on the bike. But once you're on it, it's exactly the same thing. I'm curious the next thing that will actually shake up the Bravo sphere like Scandal. But it's kind of nice that we have this interim period where we can readjust. I'm watching OC, and there's something so simplistic about it that it is. I tentatively look forward to it every week, or the new RHONY I really looked forward to because I like these things. We need building blocks in Bravo as opposed to, if you have good building blocks, you can have things like Scandal happen and it'll blow your mind because you put 10 years or 10 seasons into a show. And then you're like, oh my God, it's like Bravo invests in these people and stories. And I always encourage the audiences to do the same. We need to invest in these people. I mean, it's so political, but you invest in these people. So you really do care when the cameras are there at the right time, right place to catch something bizarre, weird, something that'll just whoa, melt your face off like Scandal did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, did the Kyle and Mauricio thing break while you were on your Alaskan cruise? Is that
No,
a piece of information that came out while you were
thank
gone?
God. Thank God. Like I had heard rumblings about that the week before I left, but I'd always heard rumblings about them for like years now. So I kind of took it with a grain of salt. And I was
Yeah.
noticing that she had her special country singer friend there all the time, which I thought,
Uh-huh.
listen, like it's, we make new friends in life. And Kyle is such a country music fan that I just thought, oh, she's like a fangirl. Like I didn't, but I will say I was so happy. I think it broke on Sunday night or Monday when I got back. And I was so
Mm.
happy that it broke then. But even that, like I noticed even the traction of that story has dissipated so much where Scandival, and they kind of had the lucky accident of having that break during the season itself. And we're still far away from a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season. But it is
Hmm.
interesting. That story broke. And then within a couple of weeks, it is barely a whisper from that hot and heavy first week of us like trying to poke around until we got their statement. And then like this past week, I know Kyle put out a statement about, her year. She's been sober for a year. And
Hmm.
I think everybody was like, oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's just interesting. I don't think there's a white hot fire or interest yet until the show comes out. Potentially we're in like kind of a cooling off period because they faced it head on and they faced it as a unit and released that statement together. So
Uh-huh.
I think there's a lot of differences with Scandival. Everything can't be Scandival, and Scandival was so devious. Like, listen, they've been in a 27-year marriage. That is so like that's not fly by night. They have a family together. There are so many differences that make it
Oh,
not
yeah.
le- not less exciting, but also the things that potentially could be exciting about. It's hard to like mess around with somebody's sexuality without getting confirmation on that. I mean, because
Right.
that there is like a certain point where you're like, listen, I don't care either way who you're hooking up with, who you're not. But if you're not going to come forward with it, it does at a certain point feel a little gross to like speculate. Like all we do know is that this person, they're great friends. And I will say, with any kind of marriage crumbling, you do look towards new people. You form new friendships of people that don't have anything to do with your actual marriage.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh,
need
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
people. So I don't know.
Totally.
Like it would be. I mean, my God, the possibility that that is a romantic relationship, that would be truly mind blowing, and not in a bad way. Like in just a wild way. I would love to hear how Kyle came to that point because I think a lot of women have been there. I think that would be fascinating to talk about on a show like Housewives. It'd be so
Yes.
different.
It's what we call a late in life lesbian. Yeah.
Listen, and you just kind of wonder if that's true. How far along is Teddy Mellencamp? Will she join Kyle, her best friend? Because they're like, well, it worked for you. People seem to really support it. Maybe I'll do a late in life lesbian thing. And no, sorry to all the lesbians out there
Uh,
listening. I'm not making fun, but
uh,
it is interesting. It'll be interesting to see if it becomes in vogue, if that is the case.
oh my gosh. Well, listen, I my thing is not about if that it's a woman necessarily. It's that it's this sort of like heavily tattooed 28-year-old person
Yeah,
is to
yeah.
me. That's the interesting part, not the that it's a woman part. It's the such a this person that grew up like in the hills of West Virginia and talks like this and is 28 heavily tattooed and then Kyle being such a fancy pants, like that's the interesting
This,
part.
this is
And the age
Kyle's.
difference.
This is Kyle's A Star Is Born. This is just like, Kyle, can I take another look at you? Like I love the only thing that I, as a man, the only thing that got me kind of like, if this was a romantic relationship, I think somebody put this on their stories. Tracy Morrissey, I think, that found the Rolex that Mauricio had given her, a $10,000 Rolex in an episode. Morgan was wearing it in one of her concerts. And that's the only point where I got like kind of stupid mail. And I was like, that's not her watch to wear. How dare, that's not her watch to wear. I would be upset if I gave somebody a $10,000 Rolex and then they gave it to their new friend. Like that would have
Uh-huh.
bummed, and I know that's a stupid thought, but that was like, I got huffy about that, which is so ridiculous. But I was like, you can't just give away a Rolex like that.
No, anything. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a $10,000 Rolex. It could be anything. Yeah, you don't give away a piece of jewelry that your spouse gave you to whether it's a girlfriend or a friend or a boyfriend or whatever. That's not cool.
And then
That's
you
not
kind of
cool.
speculate of like, well, did Morgan say, hey, I'd like to wear that? Hey, I'd like to wear that Rolex. Like, how did the Rolex wind up on her wrist? And Kyle's like, I think you'd look good in this $10,000 Rolex. Or did Morgan see it and go, I've always wanted to wear a Rolex. I'll wear that. That was the thought that kept like, how do you even get to that point where it gets on her wrist? That's the thing. And I'm not.
I have
See,
I have a
do you?
theory.
What is it?
Kyle bought her a matching Rolex because they've got the matching tattoos.
Okay. Well, then that's crazy too. You're already buying $10,000 Rolexes for your friend. Like that's like slow down. Come on. Like
listen. She's got the money. She wants to spread the wealth. Listen, if I had $10,000, I'd buy you a Rolex. We're friends.
But I don't have it. Wait, can we pull this, Ingrid? Can we pull this audio? By the way, when this does happen, I do want to refer back to this audio because this will actually come in source of. Can you sue for like things that are potentially jokes? Like screw Eminem. Like this could be my lawsuit. I want a Rolex.
I just spent a large amount of money on lottery tickets, and tonight is my night. Tonight is my night. I went to the.
Do you have a gambling issue?
No, yeah. I've never gambled anything in my life, but lately the Powerball numbers are so big, and I think, why not me? So I got my husband on board, and we played the Powerball like $20 a couple of weeks ago. I won 7. Okay, so I was like
$7.
$7 of the 20 that I spent, so I was only down 13. Perfect. So I told my husband, I go, it's so high. He goes, all right, go back to the same, because we're like going to the same 7-Eleven. Because like, it's like when you get your, like you don't want to change. I go, I'm going to go back to the same 7-Eleven. I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to do the 7. I'm going to switch it. And I'm going to buy $100 in lottery tickets.
Mary, Mary, paying it forward. Tell me what you think paying it forward means. Paying it forward usually means doing a good deed for somebody else. It doesn't mean buying more lottery tickets at the 7-Eleven.
I am paying it forward to that particular, my neighborhood 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay.
If I win, they get a % because they're the ones that sold it. So I'm doing them a favor by always going to the same one. I haven't spent like $100 on, a haircut or anything in my life, but for some reason, this is the thing that I chose to spend. Well, $93 because I won 7, $93 on. And the lady looked at me like, you are so stupid.
I remember in college there was like a big Powerball, and I remember I would have like fantasies about winning the Powerball. I never played the Powerball, but I would sit there and fantasize about what I would do with the Powerball money. And I'd come up with, I would travel around the US in some sort of fancy RV, but I would go stay at fancy hotels. And then I would buy a house somewhere, and I would buy a lot of stuff and just ship it back to the house. Then I would dump the RV and I would go overseas and do the same thing overseas. But it was always weird. Like I had this in-depth fantasy, but then I was too lazy to ever go out and buy a ticket. So it was like, I totally thought about it, but never did it. Which is a lot. I put this question to my family, my husband and my adult children. I said, how much do our winnings have to be for me to get a beach house? How much? And I said, so if we get $50,000, is that enough money that we would come across? Then you could say, yes, we can get a beach house. And my husband's like, how much do you think a beach house costs? The answer to that is no. I was like, wait a second. Are you like setting your husband up? Because you can't get a beach. So you're saying like, if you win 50,000, we'll put that 50,000 in, and then we'll actually dip into our actual money and get the beach. So you're trying to preemptively get the beach house, even without the money that would be needed to get the beach house?
Right. He said, absolutely not. That would just be used to like pay off debt and put into college funds and pay off the mortgage on the home that we currently do own. So, no.
Do you ever secretly wish any of your kids are like those kids that are like, Mom, I don't need to go to college. I want to learn I want to learn lessons from life itself. Do you ever secretly hope one of them is like, college isn't for me?
One of them has done that.
That's amazing. Well, truly, listen, I went to ASU, the Harvard of the West, and I have to tell you, there was a lot of good memories, but in retrospect, for doing what I do, no offense to all you college goers out there, or as people say, like I didn't need it. I could have started my career in Los Angeles 4 years earlier. I mean, of course, I'm kind of half being facetious, but it is one of those things. You're like, well, not everybody potentially needs to go to college if we're doing what we do.
She went, and it wasn't for her, and now she's home and she works. She has a full-time job and she loves it, and she's got more money in her savings account than I do. That's for sure, because she lives here.
Make her throw in for the beach house.
Like, no shit. And my son is going to be a senior in high school. So we're we're seeing what's happening with him. But I'm like, how can we get that money out of that 529 that we put in for the college? She may end up using it at some point. But yeah, one of them did decide that. What my son does sometimes is he says, so and so on the TikTok or the whatever the kids do with the gaming.
Oh,
That guy makes $20 million
yeah.
a year by gaming. I go, well,
My
guess what?
nephew, yeah, my
Uh-uh.
nephew does the same thing. My nephew watches like the videos with the people just playing the video games.
Yeah.
My
Uh-huh.
nephew's in all the YouTubers and all of this stuff. And it's
Yes.
like, it is weird. It's like my false aspirations were like actors and things like that when I was growing up. And these kids are like watching people make millions of dollars playing video games. I tried to
Yeah.
watch like somebody play a video game with him. I thought it was the most boring thing I'd ever seen in the world. But if I made him watch an episode of Vanderpump Rules, he would completely like wig out. He wouldn't like it's hysterical what we consider and they consider entertainment these days. But you do see these people on TikTok living these insane lives. And that's why influencer culture is so scary, because it
Mm-hmm.
makes everybody have these aspirations that were non-existent when we were growing up. And it's existent for them in some way, but you're chasing this like unattainable false lifestyle, which also is a byproduct of Housewives. It's like when Housewives first started, when Real Housewives of New York first started, I was talking about this, is that they didn't have the social media that we had today. Those ladies, those original RHONY ladies, weren't trying to like be good on Instagram. They were trying
Right.
to just live their lives, and there were cameras in front of their faces. Now, part of being on Bravo or a housewife or any reality TV show, including 90 Day, is the social media aspect. Is that
Yep.
maybe we'll get even bigger on social media. It's they almost care about the social media more. And it's so wild to see how reality shows have tried to incorporate that and have sometimes been behind the eight ball because they haven't known how to properly use social media. But all of these
Mm-hmm.
people want to be social media stars more than they want to be TV stars.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm watching Temptation Island. We're covering that on our Patreon and Supercast, and love it. Have an interview with Mark L. Wahlberg coming up. Everybody, get ready.
Mm.
Love the guy, and it's interesting because a lot of them, literally, like the people in the house or the whatever, their title, like banker, fireman, it's influencer. I'm like, and then the
Yeah.
new girl on RHONY, Sai, her that's her job title is influencer. Can you I would like for you to explain to me about Sai being an influencer. What is she an influencer of?
That was a big question mark for me as well, because yeah, the one lady said, I would buy anything that Sai puts up on Instagram. I
Right.
had never, I mean, by the way, also my dude, but like I had never heard of Sai before this. I had never, and I'm on Instagram a lot. I mean, I usually don't, but
Yeah.
but then what was so funny is even after that first episode, I didn't go look Sai up on Instagram. I wasn't like, I need to follow this influencer. I'm excited to learn more about her on the show, but it is interesting when you find out that somebody's an influencer that you've never heard of in your life. And you're like, what are you necessarily influencing here? And also, like it's not a shallowness, because some people are influencers to great effect and they bring in, not just products, but a certain lifestyle brand that actually potentially involves mental health and stuff. But Sai, they didn't answer that question of like, explain what it is you're influencing. How did you get into this? What
How
do
did you
you
get
do
into
now?
it? Right, right. 'Cause
Like what?
she seems a little like skews a little old for an influencer. I feel like influencers are all like 25. I mean,
Hey,
and
I'm all
she's
for older influencers, but what's interesting is that then I
me
saw an
too. I'd like to
article.
be one.
I saw an article with like the amount of followers she had, and I think I want to say it was like over 200,000 or something, which is a really great number. But what I remember my first thought was, and this is how jaded I am, I'm like, yeah, but those are probably followers she bought. Like I truly had
Yeah.
never heard of her. And like, I'm like, in this day and age, you can really tell who buys followers and who doesn't. So I'm very skeptical when somebody jumps into the lifestyle influencing brand and then you look at it. I mean, that to me would be an amazing documentary one day of like potentially the mental gymnastics you do that actually gets you into, what, I'm gonna be an influencer, and I'm gonna, nobody's following me right now, but I'm gonna buy all my followers. I'm gonna buy and hopefully fake it until you make it. But like, to what effect? Like, what is the end goal for these people? Like, because I feel like it's just they want free stuff, instead of, I feel like I have a point of view on life that would be helpful to other women and other people.
Y'all, I am so sick of ordering carry out food and getting takeout all the time. My kids spend so much on food delivery, but I think I have finally fixed the problem. I am using Every Plate this summer instead of takeout to save money while still enjoying quick, yummy, delicious meals. Every Plate's meals are 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meal. They're the easiest way to eat affordably. You could put the money that you save using Every Plate towards some fun summer plans. Go to the pool, girl. Do something with that money. You can customize Every Plate meals to your liking with options to swap proteins and sides, or you can add a protein to a veggie dish each week. You do you. Every Plate offers 26 tasty and affordable recipes that change every week, including 15-minute or less dinners. Yes, that's my jam. And oven-free recipes. Oven-free. Don't heat up your house. It's hot outside. It's easy to find something for every meal of the day. The other night, I made these delicious taquitos, and everybody loved them. It was better than ordering out something, and of course, way cheaper. So you can get $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code PINKSHADE49. So get started with Every Plate for just $1.49 per meal. Do you guys hear that? By going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code PINKSHADE49. Okay, again, I'm going to say it one more time. Everyplate.com/podcast, enter code PINKSHADE49, and you're getting $1.49 per meal. I went down a TikTok hole last night. And I don't know why. I'd literally allow myself sometimes to look at TikTok if I have time to waste. But if I don't have time to waste, if I start looking at TikTok, I can't stop. So I get how the
Yeah.
kids, because there is, like you're like, wow, that's interesting. Oh, let me go find this story about this crazy neighbor. I
Yeah.
got to hear the whole thing now. And I love a story about a crazy neighbor. And this woman came up and it was like, what we spend in a day with my family of 6 in New York City. It was this gorgeous couple, like gorgeous model couple with their 4 kids in New York City that live in this amazing, like Riverview, all glass apartment. I'm like, I want to see the bedrooms of where these 4 kids are staying. Cause I think that you got to have 4 kids in one room, but it was all about like,
was it $30,000 a day? How much did they spend?
well, it was just like, first we take my husband, to the subway and we give him a kiss. They like make out by the subway in front of 2 of the kids because 2 of the kids are at camp. Camp is 2 younger kids to go to camp, $500 a week. The older kids, so then they take them to the subway. That's like $1.87. Then they go to get her hair extensions moved up. That's $1,000. The 2 kids go watch her get her hair extensions moved up. Then they go and try these 2 croissant places. Those are $10 each. Then they had to take a cab because their feet hurt. That was, $14. It was this kind of thing. And I was like, well, what I want to see is her apartment tour to see how she lives in that apartment with 4 kids, right? That's what I'm interested in as a mom. I go and I look, nothing on there. Everything is outside of the apartment and everything is what we spend in a day in New York City. And I'm like, how did you come up with this idea? And how do you have 400,000 people watching?
It's
just bragging about your money is really what it is.
Wild. I mean, no, like I'll go on TikTok Jags where I'll be on it for like a couple days in a row, but it really is. It's like the biggest time suck because it is so good and so fascinating. And then like I'll put it down and I'll have that itch to put it back up. But if I can get past that first day, I'm not looking at it. I can go weeks without looking at TikTok.
Me too.
But I know the moment I go back on there, I'm going to want to stay on there. It is truly one of the most addictive apps that I've been on because everything, you're going to find something fascinating about the world. You're going to find something fascinating that gets you angry. You're going to get like, it hits all of those buttons. And the Pavlovian response when you open that app is just wild. And that's why I prefer like Instagram. Like Instagram's a time suck as well, but at least I can put that down. I can pick it up and put it down at my own will, or I can nervously scroll without really paying attention. But TikTok really gets you in there of like paying attention.
Yes, you have to stop. You can't also be listening to the TV or talking to somebody. You're like, no, I'm watching this story about what's going to happen with the neighbor. The neighbor's called the cops on her 20 times for no reason. The neighbor's crazy. I got to find out what happened with the crazy neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Guys, don't get on TikTok. It's a demon. It's a demon. I can't quit it. All right, here's what I want to hear about from you. I want to hear about your trip to New York City for the RHONY party. Tell me everything. Tell me how long you were there. Tell me Tell me everything.
I was there. I had to do some business for some other things, and was lucky enough to get invited. That was Wednesday night, so I stayed. I ended up staying until Friday. I got to see a couple of Broadway shows, but the RHONY thing itself was awesome. Like, it was at the Rainbow Room at the top of the, where NBC Universal is, the
Top
30
of the
Rock
Rock.
opening, top of the Rock.
Mhm.
And the downside of the whole thing is the humidity in New York is insane. It's like 96% humidity.
Yeah,
So
welcome to the East Coast, Ryan. Welcome to
oh
the
man,
East Coast.
it is just the amount of like, I everywhere I went, I asked if they had flood insurance, because I was just like, I'm just going to flood you guys out. The amount of sweat that was coming off my body at all times. And in fact, once I realized I was going to the party, it was then just like this panic of, what do I wear that I will not completely seep through? Like, I'm just going to be a ball of, and I'm going to be nervous going there anyways. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know if you were watching the show, if it was just a party. I didn't know a lot of details. So it was awesome though. Like, I mean, we didn't watch the show. It was just this really nice party with past hors d'oeuvres, open bar. Tony Danza was there. It was very like, I was like, what a random, like Tony Dan, like I was just talking, and Tony Danza, I would just look to the right and he was just right there. And that was really odd. Andy was there. All the Real Housewives of New York ladies were there, but I wish I had already seen the first episode, so I could have been even more excited to be around them, because I was like, I got into a conversation with Jenna Lyons, who was awesome. I got introduced to her and she was cool, but like some of the other ladies, I wish I had seen this first episode, so I could have talked about like what's to come. So there was like a couple brief comments in passing, but I'm not that guy that will push into like I hang back. I kind of am just happy to be there. So it wasn't, I mean, I got way too loaded, open bar. I was really way too loaded, because I do that when I get nervous. So I was just like pounding drinks, which was fun at first. But it was great. Everybody, it's great to see like some of the creator community out there. And it was like a great DJ. And it was one of those kind of really cool. I got to talk to Andy briefly. Somebody introduced me to him, and I got to talk to him about the Grateful Dead, who I love. And
me too.
He had grown my appreciation in that. And was
my new shirt.
Oh, I love that shirt. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
It's my new Dead shirt.
I love that.
We went to the last show here in Virginia, and then my husband had some friends that went to just like Andy, the 3 shows in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And brought back my husband this like amazing, like last show, the whole like real merch, probably like an $80 t-shirt. And then like brought me this one, which is fine. But I was like, I would have liked an official shirt. You got this on
that looks like an official. I mean, that looks like a beautiful shirt. But yeah, I went and saw them at the Forum in this final run. But I wish I could have gone to the San Francisco show, and I was watching it online on Sunday night. But I got to talk to him about that, and I will say he was more excited to talk about, like, because everybody was coming after Andy, and you could tell there's not an exhaustion, but you could tell like it's tiring. Like, it's tiring sometimes to talk about these shows and these ladies again and again. So I was talking about Grateful Dead, and he was so excited. Like, he had to get pulled away, and he was like, I'm talking. Like, it was actually really, that was kind of the coolest thing, was that he was so excited about talking about that. Like, if I was talking to him about the Housewives, I think he would have just been like nodding along, but we were talking about Grateful Dead, and that seemed to excite him, which excited me, because it's always nice to have a nice interaction with somebody that I have such a great respect for, Andy. And I feel like he gets so much shit sometimes I don't understand people's thoughts on Andy's. Like, he has a lot of negative thoughts out there about him, but I sometimes don't understand that. I try to listen to it. But I'm like, I really appreciate what he does and how he's able to keep all of those balls in the air, because it's hard for me to even cover a couple of shows, and he is like at the forefront of all of these things. And that, I mean, especially when a show like Vanderpump hits again, so many more eyes are on this, and trying to do this in the right way, launch all of these Housewives franchises. I mean, the thing with the 90 Day Fiance universe is that they don't really have that one person in the middle of all of it. Like, you can't say Sean Hawley's kicking ass at, like, it's like
Sean Robinson.
Sean Robinson, not the lawyer. Sean Robinson, like, I don't think she is like the, I wouldn't consider the Andy Cohen of 90 Day, because she hosts those reunions tepidly.
I don't think she even watches the shows.
Oh, I don't, dude, she's under there. Like, it's a hostage situation. She does not want to be there. In fact, I noticed that the last 90 Day, they're bringing on old people to do like color commentary.
They do color commentary.
I was like, what is going on that like you
Love it.
Sean can't even do the whole thing? They're throwing people from other seasons in? Like that would be offensive to me.
The joke with Sean Robinson is, they get right. Somebody says something really juicy. They'll say, yeah, well, remember, like you hired that prostitute. And then she'll go, well, we're not going to solve this today. Let's move on. And you're like, wait, what?
No, it's so ridiculous when I'll tune in. I'm like, why am I even watching these reunions? I mean, the 90 Day stuff. But anyway, yeah, Andy's the center of that universe. And I think he does. I think he handles it so well. But it's interesting. Like when
questions, he does follow up questions, not on the card. He does off at the top of the head.
He does off the top of the. And listen, of course, I want him to go further because I'm of the mind of my real dream. If I could run for office of some sort and try to get something instituted, my thing would be I want it reunions. And I do want maybe an episode or two where if somebody says a blatant lie, I want to not just cut to a clip proving that they lied for the audience. I want them to cut to a clip and make that person who's lying watch the clip in the moment. Yeah, I want to be at reunions of like, no, I didn't say that to her. And then I want to say, okay, well, we're going to watch this clip right now. And then watch that proven lie. And then, okay, what do you have to say about that? Like I
agree.
We, the audience know, like you don't need to show it to us. We are very well aware of all of these people's lies. I want them to see it in the moment and answer for their lies. So that's why sometimes the reunions can be unsatisfying. Like they're not satisfying sometimes because they can still, if they hold true to a lie, like Tamra Judge is so good at this. She will hold true to a lie on OC that the other lady is just like, well, I guess she's telling the truth. And she's always lying. She's always lying. And she does it to great, like she's so successful at it. It blows my mind.
Okay, give me an example of a Tamra lie, because I'm kind of a Tamra stan. I love her.
Well, by the way, Tamra lies don't mean you can't be a Tamra fan. That's part of the reason why people love her. But like Tamra, even this season, is she comes in, she's back on the show, and then she immediately throws her friend Jen that she brought back on the show under the bus. But she says, like, she's like, your boyfriend Ryan has been cheating on you, and I can't believe this. But she already told everybody around her before she told her friend Jen. Now, if this was a real friend, she would have said before she came on the show, like, listen, I'm worried about you being with Ryan. I think he's cheating. She waits for her to get back on the show, shit talks her to everybody around her. Then Jen gets wind of this and go, wait, my friend Tamra is talking bad about me? Confronts Tamra about it. And Tamra's like, I didn't say that. And if I did, it's because I care about you and I love you with all I have. And it's like, then with Shannon Bedore, she like shits on Shannon Bedore every chance she can get over the last 2 years that she wasn't on the show. Shannon Bedore stayed on the show. And then Tamra's like, I loved you, Shannon Bedore. You were my best friend. Now, no viewer of OC would ever really truly believe that Tamra thinks Shannon Bedore is one of her best friends. This is what makes Tamra a great housewife. Tamra's best friend is Real Housewives of Orange County, the show. So she was hurtful that she wasn't on the show. So she comes back on the show and says, you were my best friend and like da-da-da. And then Shannon, this is what makes Shannon a great housewife, is Shannon truly puts her real feelings in there. And they're usually wrong, but it's her real feelings. And she's not playing the housewife game. So Shannon's going, I loved you as well, Tamra. I loved you. And when Shannon says it, she really means it. Shannon really loves Tamra. And Tamra just loves the show. So it's like now we're seeing Tamra going, I only said any of these things because I deeply love you. And it's all a lie. Tamra will throw Shannon Bedore under the next bus as quick as she can. That is Tamra's game plan. The only thing funny about it is that we've all seen this season after season with Tamra, and nobody has the mental clarity or acuity on these shows to be like, hey, Tamra, real quick, I just want to break down how you operate on these shows. And then somehow you manage, like by the grace of God, to get away with it each time. Even Tamra in her own head, you can see her go, holy crap, that worked. I got away with it again. Like this past week's episode was so bad, but it was so funny because Tamra was in like a lot of different situations, and each one of these ladies ended up being more mad at Heather Dubrow. And Heather Dubrow, I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is so funny. It's like Tamra has this magic to point stuff in another direction far away from her, even though she is the person that starts a lot of these things. So it's great. Like we're only 6 episodes into this season, and she's already ruling the roost after being gone for seasons. She's already the top of the heap. Tamra is already, I would argue, the top of this show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that having her come back, we knew she'd be the top of the show. Who's it going to be? It's not going to be Gina. I mean, it's
Oh,
not going to be Emily.
poor man, Gina. I said this. I want Gina to be on an ultimate girls trip just to test out if she would be good with other ladies, because at
Yeah.
this point she's so wildly miscast. And I don't dislike Gina, but it's so weird. All of a sudden she's triggered because her ex Matt cheated on her, and we're talking about cheating with Jen, the new cast member Jen and Ryan. So that triggers her. But by that, like, is Gina able to watch television at all? Because if cheating triggers her, she must be triggered a billion times a day. Like, do not bring up Scandal around Gina, because she will shit herself. Like, the Gina thing is so bizarre. And I'm like, are you really this triggered, or are you just hoping for some sort of storyline? Are you trying to Lisa
Yeah.
Rinna your way into this?
Yeah, I agree, because everybody on these shows, all they do is cheat. So it's like, don't bring up Vicky and Steve Lodge, or I mean, because
Yes,
then she'll be upset about that. Yeah.
but like bringing up this Matt situation when she's in a happy relationship with Travis, who seems like a great guy, but even Matt's probably been like, why am I being talked about so much? Like, wait, I've been off this show for years now. And she's like, I can't believe the cheating. It's horrible. And she's crying. And then all of a sudden it's Heather Dubrow's fault. I'm so, like, I always feel like I've missed like a whole scene. I'm like, wait, did I miss? And I go back and I'll be like, no, I didn't miss a scene. So I don't understand the ramping up to Gina's tears. And I don't understand necessarily what it's all about. And then Gina's talking heads, if you compare them season to season, she must have gotten a new makeup artist or something, because she's all of a sudden dressing like Lady Gaga in these talking heads. She was dressed like a gigantic orange. She was dressed like a gigantic orange. She had like orange eyeshadow on. And I was like, when they said to be more exciting, I don't think they meant like dress wise. I think they wanted you to actually do things. I don't know. The Gina thing is so bizarre to me.
I would like to go back to what you said about the roll the tape, which they do at the reunions, roll the tape. When Andy did that at the Jersey reunion, when he was saying to Teresa, he was like, with all due, like Jacqueline Rita, it's not like you hate her. And she goes, I do not hate her. She has been my best friend. And Andy's like, roll the tape. That was fucking hilarious, because he's like, well, they're going to insert a clip package right here. And you're right. It would be great to have somebody in the control room, somebody with this sort of knowledge to be like, I know exactly when that was when she said that. Pull it up and then say, we're going to take a 5-minute break. When you come back, we're going to roll the tape.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even in basic things like that Potomac fight from seasons ago with Candace and Monique, it's like we were arguing about who hit who first. Well, we have the benefit of this being on tape. Let's all watch it as a group and like get our reactions. Let's freeze frame it. Let's put arrows in there. This is when the champagne glass comes this way. Like we have the technology. This is like this is like Oppenheimer. This is our atomic bomb. We've created something. We have the tools to do this. I just sometimes feel like these injustices get like, Tamra she's just like stomping around like she can't be stopped, and legitimately she can't. But that's why there needs to be somebody in there with a long memory. And I would think Heather Dubrow would have been would be able to put this into words, what Tamra does. Now, Emily Simpson, who wasn't on this episode really when they went to Montana because she had COVID, she was one in the talking head says, Tamra always does this. This is what she does. It doesn't surprise me that this stuff is happening. Now, Emily says it immediately right there. Now, will Emily be able to say that in scenes with Tamra is yet to be determined. And once like the river starts going a certain direction, is it worth going up against somebody like Tamra? Because Tamra will claw your eyes out. Like Tamra is that person that if it's not going your way, she'll throw a napkin, she'll throw a glass, she'll run away. If her words aren't working, her body will start doing the talking. And I find that another thing. Like Tamra has ran out like on more scenes of Housewives than anybody. She'll run.
Oh, I'm leaving. I'm going to the plane. That's she runs off.
You'll never see me again. So it's like funny.
You're like you're in another country, man. You're in another country.
Yeah,
man.
you're not. You don't have
you're-
you need your passport. No, but like it's like a I would imagine like a sports player. Like, if they're really good at like long passes, Tamra has like a certain thing she's really good at, but it's like does nobody know how to defend themselves against Tamra? Does nobody know like Tamra's playing a game. If you consider Housewives more of a game-based show now, which I think it's turned into in some ways, then why aren't people studying this stuff? Why aren't people going, listen, this is what Tamra might do. This is in her playbook. It's in her toolkit. She might throw you under the bus here and here. So what can you do? You want to bring this up? You want to bring up from season 6, Tamra said
with
this.
With the clipboard with the drawing of the arrows and like a basketball, X's and O's.
Yeah. Tamra's going to come like hard to the left. What you're going to do is swing out right. Like that's the stuff that I would legitimately wish. Like Gina, like if you really want to be in this game, play the game. Don't like go under false things of like I'm triggered because Matt cheated. You know.
Twiggered.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. I want to go back to the new New York women. So we've got Sai, we covered her. Now, did you notice in episode 1, we had not one, but 2 children named Rio?
It's
children named Rio.
Well, listen, COVID wasn't the only epidemic in New York. This Rio situation is just the Rios are popping up everywhere. It's a cool name. It must have been on one of those like hip names of whatever year those babies were born.
On Real Housewives of Dallas, I believed we had 2 children named Cruz, Cruz. And then never forget the fight between Kim Zolciak and Candy about naming the kid Cash with a K. Kim Zolciak won that. She has a Cash with a K, and Candy had to settle for Ace. So I just couldn't believe that there are 2 women with a child named Rio. The one's got the kids are London and Rio, and the other one was something in Rio. But I was like, no way. And then I waited for the Chiron to come on the bottom of the screen to assure me that I had heard that correctly. So we've got Sai, we've got Erin. I liked Erin right away.
I liked Erin too.
She seemed cool. Jenna Lyons, of course, you're like, I mean, what could be more iconic and amazing than Jenna Lyons? I mean, as a J. Crew fan, I mean, really.
I didn't know a lot about her. I don't obviously follow fashion, so I am catching up to how, but she's just that she's so cool that my big question was like, why is she here? Like I thought like there's always that one character where you're like, you seem so self-aware of your surroundings that I would almost be curious how they got you on this show, because she seems to be able to like kind of really kind of judge the situation for what it is, who these ladies are. And I'll be really interested to see how they use her in future episodes and how much she'll allow her real persona, like whatever that is, to really come through. And will she trust these ladies? Once again, we have this kind of, I love this first episode, but once again, we're going in that thing of these ladies aren't natural friends. This isn't a natural friend group. This is a kind of a created friend group, which is not my favorite thing about any of the, like, I like when you can tell that there's real relationships, but having said that, I still liked all of these ladies and I'm excited to see them interact more.
How did you feel about Brynn, AKA Mandy Moore?
I think she's made for reality television. And by the way, a lot of people said that she was putting it on, and I think there are certain that's yet to be determined for me, because I do believe there are certain people that walk around in this world like they're on a reality television show all the time. There are certain people that just have a tornado around them all the time, and they're always stirring up things. But there are certain people that are, if that's a gift, that are gifted with that. And I feel like I think it's a necessary character for so many ways. You know, we'll see what this brings. I can already see a lot of fights, a lot of shit talking behind each other's backs. We see that in the first one between her and Erin. But Erin, that's why I liked her, is Erin is a no nonsense woman that was like, I'll call you out. I'm going to, Brynn, you went to this other restaurant, which I always like. Yeah, I love a restaurant fight. I love a cheese fight. I love these basic fights. If you can fight about small things, imagine how good it's going to be when it's a big thing.
Yeah. You guys, the restaurant was Catch. So for those of you wondering, that was the restaurant. But
which, by the way, I passed it in New York last week before I had even seen this show. And I will say, I was like, oh, Catch. And it was really big. I noticed from the outside, and it looked like Instagram people were coming out of it. Like it was at like a Wednesday night. I drove in a taxi, was driven past it, but I was like, oh, they have a Catch here. And I just randomly saw it, but I didn't think anything of it. Catch is that place in LA too, that I've been there. It's like fine. It's fine. Like I would never go there for like I need the steak at Catch. It seems like a place that's always like to be seen in LA, but I don't know.
Well, the one in New York apparently is no longer cool. But I heard Andy and John Hill were talking about that it was Catch, and John Hill goes, "Yeah, Catch is a thing. It's like a big thing in LA." He goes, "Like Britney Spears just got slapped out of that Catch in Las Vegas. Like it's still a thing by that security guard."
It's still going to be a thing. It's one of those restaurants that you pay a lot of money for the food, you get your seafood or your steak, and like you could potentially see a celebrity. There are those, and that I mean, it definitely still exists in LA. It's right there on Melrose and La Cienega, and it's always going to be a thing. Probably, it's not closing down anytime soon.
I did like that argument though. It's like, oh no, we can't go there. Like it's not cool enough. So, all right, then we have, so Bryn. The thing about Bryn was I didn't mind her so much on the show. I thought like, well, she's fun and bubbly and she's like the annoying little sister slutty friend or whatever. She looks so much like Mandy Moore. Like in my mind, it's Mandy Moore. But I didn't like her on Watch What Happens Live. That's what I felt like. She was like a little like, I'm drunk, I'm fun, look at my fake boobs. Like, like a little, like she was on the end. She kept leaning in and leaning all over Uba. And, that was
Well,
annoying.
I mean, I will say that this is what's exciting to watch about these shows is that this was filmed, without, I mean, there was expectations, but it was filmed without any of them being social media stars. I mean, maybe Psy, if you want to Psy, except for Psy. But it'll be interesting now that this is coming out. You get to see who, how this changes them. Like how this changes their relationships, who becomes a breakout star. Does that make other women jealous? That's what I was saying with the social media aspect of all of this. It's different than Original Housewives because now this all plays a part of it, which is just, if you learn to enjoy that part of it, it can be really fun from like a meta angle to watch this. But it'll be interesting. Like Bryn is being pushed as a star. Maybe that potentially upsets, Aaron. You'll get to see all of these things play into play. Like Jessel, she got sick at the RHONY party on Wednesday.
I heard that.
She got sick and she was taken to the bathroom and then had to be escorted out. And like, listen, that could be part of the show next season. Like these things will all play a part because now they're seeing their names in Page 6. They're watching us make memes about them. And I remember that night, I think one of them, maybe it was Jenna, said, oh, the Bravo audience seems really cool and nice. And I'm like, get ready. I was like, yeah, get ready. I was like, wait till you get that first meme that you see that's like, ooh, that stings. Like that's, it's watching them like come to the realization of what this actually is, because you can tell. And by the way, you can tell Bryn is already in love with the attention. Like you could tell that,
yes.
Just, you could tell it's obvious. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. And that first reunion should be great.
Speaking of people that are changed by the show, it just triggered in me. Do we know if Salt Lake City is filming right now? They should be filming right now, right?
They already I think if I'm
done?
not mistaken, they've wrapped or are close to wrapping because they've been filming for a while. Yeah, they've already they've got to be close to done, if not done already. But I'm now trying to go through my catalog in my head, and I don't remember any posts about like final parties.
I haven't seen a lot of
because
posts.
I know we just did the Potomac finale. They just filmed this past weekend. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? They also might, in the day of Scandival and even with picking back up cameras for Beverly Hills, we are in this kind of like, I feel like there's probably a company email going out of like, even if we wrap production, always be on the ready, like always be ready to go. Cause you just never know what's going to happen. And if it proves successful for Scandival, who knows? If something happens off season, the audience deserves potentially to see that. We are in a different age now, and the internet works faster than these shows.
Yeah, true. Well, I was just somehow that just made me think about Mary Cosby, and are we going to get back into her house/closet? Like,
I hope so.
I hope so. God bless.
I like her solo scenes. I don't care. I don't even need Mary with other people. I'm fine with having Mary in her closet talking to the mannequin heads. It reminds me a lot of Kyle when everybody goes to bed in Summer House and he stays up eating cookie dough and talking to himself. I'm like, yeah, just string a whole scene, like a whole episode of that together. I would completely like a one-man show, one-woman show. I'd love it.
I like Mary talking to one of her various housekeepers that are also like maybe her sister or her cousin.
Yeah,
that she's employing.
She's like, yes, totally. It's the family tree of that family. When you were piecing it together over the 2 seasons she was on, was like fascinating because you'd be like, oh my God. Wow, that's wild. And
you're like, wait, that guy was her brother, but he was the guy that was coming to like redo the kitchen, and then the lady in the closet was her cousin. What? Yes, very.
And then it's also your family, but then you also say that you don't like her, but she's there every day. Like it was so interesting.
And also, your husband is your grandpa. What?
But Mary with those other ladies. The thing with Mary with the other ladies though is that it's when you can't. It's like Teresa Giudice sometimes. Is that like there's such a different way of thinking and operating that it's not really sometimes fun to have scenes with all of the other ladies, because at the end of the day, Mary's never going to like set foot on the earth that we're on. So
Right.
whatever the actual factual fact of any situation, it doesn't mean that it's fact to Mary. So if you're arguing with somebody that does not live on the same planet that you live on, it's going to be the same argument again and again and again. And that's why Teresa sometimes is so fascinating as well, because Teresa, when you get her to a point of anger, she all of a sudden leaves the planet and there's no, you can't
You
get
can't
through
bring
to
it
her.
back. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
You
like
can't
it's
bring it
done.
back.
It's gone. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah. So let's pivot and let's talk about Crappie Lake. Now, I myself have enjoyed it because listen, this show would only have really worked with these two, because if you would have gotten somebody like Ramona in there, she would have been like, I can't get my hair wet. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get in that. Nope. You can't do it. I'm not going to, no, I don't
Yeah.
build playgrounds. They name playgrounds after me, So it would only work with these two because they're just so up for anything. And Lou being so athletic, I think really helps. I enjoy that it's 30-minute bites. 30-minute bites. It's all we need. And I enjoy they're really leaning into the messy hotel room and the sluttiness of it all. I love that. And
Yeah.
I just wonder if Sonia Morgan, who is like about my age, I wonder if she has those like hormone pellets that make her horny, because like I've never seen a hornier 50-something-year-old in my life.
I just think it's like Tamra's gifted with like having all fingers point away from her. I think Sonia's gifted with just extreme horniness. I think it's just one of those gifts that she's been given, and she makes sex sound fun. She makes she makes it sound fun and innocent. Like, I've never heard of somebody having a one night stand in a small town in Benton in a shitty hotel room being like, oh, he cleaned my pipes all night. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like sometimes, and by the way, the actual act of sex, sometimes, like it can be making love, but like sometimes it's not cute. Like, I wouldn't say cute, but Sonia makes it sound cute and adorable and very innocent and free. And like like, if I ever actually had to see Sonia have sex, I think I would lose my mind, because how I picture it is like really nice and fun and innocent, and there's like no weird juices flying around. Like, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Barbie sex.
Yes.
It's Barbie sex where you're like, we put the Barbie parts up against each other.
I imagine it being like she is fully dressed from the waist up and also in like a cowboy hat and like with a lasso. Like, woo! Like that.
A lot of fun. You know what's also the funny thing is, are we sure Sonia knows what sex is? Like, could this just be heavy petting and that's what she calls sex? Like, it was just over the bra. It was over the bra. And the other, what I love about Crappie Lake, and by the way, you said 30-minute, but I want to not scare people off. It's only 21 minutes if you watch it on Peacock or fast forward. 21 minutes, you guys. They've only had 3 episodes so far. So you're talking an hour and 3 minutes of your life. And I hate to be a politician, but like, I need everybody to jump on board shows like this on the new RHONY. We want like the health of this network and these shows. I love when they try something new. And you're right. These two ladies are perfect together because they want to be there. They need to be, and it's not desperation. They seem like they have a good attitude about it, which Ramona wouldn't. And the other, I was talking about this on my Patreon yesterday, is that the difference is, like, Sonia, like, there's a typical thing in any kind of shows of you have the straight man and the comic foil. And Sonia is the comic foil, right? Which would make Lou the straight man. And those kind of roles, that's how they play. But what's even funnier than that is Lou thinks she's the straight man, when in reality, she's also a comic foil, because Lou is batshit as well. And that's what I think is interesting, is that Lou thinks she's the one that kind of, I'm the responsible one, when Lou is just a different form of craziness. But they work well off each other, and they really do. This small town, it is really nice to see them, generally excited about this. They're hosting auditions for this talent show. I mean, it's bizarre. It's fast. And like, I don't know. There's a good feeling I have when I watch this. And it makes me really it makes me want more of these ladies, and I want the best for them, and they are OGs of Bravo. So I want this to work. And when I see the ratings for this, or the ratings even just came out for Real Housewives of New York, and they weren't great, and it's like, of course they're not. We literally shit talk every one of these shows before they come out. And then we
Yeah.
end up liking them, but it takes so much to get people to come watch them then. And then they become historical years down the line as part of Bravo's history. But like, why do we do like, it's like, if you love these shows, I know how hard it is to open your heart. Like we did like 90 Day, everybody will watch 8 different iterations of like 90 Day in the toilet, 90 Day, like a shot. Like
Ryan, there are 3 iterations of 90 Day on right now. All of them are 2 hours long.
yes.
I'm about to go nuts. I'm like, no more. Matt Sharp, give me a break.
And that's what I'm saying. Every one of the 90 Day, I feel bad. Like I feel bad about each one of the couples I see on 90 Day. I feel bad. I feel like legally none of these people should be able to be together. So like, why can't we then like Crappie Lake makes me feel good. It like energizes me. The colors are great. The small town vibe of it is great. The fact that you can tell they want to be there, but they don't seem desperate is great. And then I go over and watch like 90 Day, which I'm a religious viewer of that. I don't talk about it on the show, but I love it. But at the same time, I hate myself because I hate them. And it's like, I'm in this really weird relationship with 90 Day Fiance, but I want Bravo. I don't want people to crap on the new Real Housewives of New York just because they love the old ladies of Real Housewives of New York.
Right.
And if we all love the old ladies of Real Housewives of New York, why aren't we showing up for Crappie Lake? Crappie Lake got half the ratings of the new RHONY did, and the RHONY got 200,000 less viewers than Atlanta this season. And Atlanta this season is not good.
Yeah, I could 100% agree with that. I think that's weird that the ratings were low. I think that people probably like, well, I'm going to wait for other people to watch the new New York, and then then I'll decide.
It'll be nice to see it pick up steam. That's what I hope it does. I hope it picks up steam, and I hope it's one of those we refer back to. And I think Real Housewives of Salt Lake City launched during the pandemic, so it had that double whammy of being good, but also we were all trapped in our bubbles and we were all watching that. So I want the best for these shows.
Well, speaking of that, I was going to ask you about Family Karma, because that's a show that we covered every season. Aaron and I together, and then me alone, never really covered, cover to cover Bravo shows. We really do sort of a recap of everything that one week, but we always covered Family Karma every episode, week to week. Loved it. You helped me get in touch with Amrit and Nicholas.
How were they? Did they come on?
Amazing. We had the best time. Loved them. And
they were great.
They're really great guys. And the whole show was great because it's like you're saying, it's about Crappie Lake. It's not so dark. There's not going to be a fight about cheese, or if it is, it's going to be funny. And the whole show is so heartwarming, and we need to support these shows like Family Karma.
There's real relationships. They're also, it's like I'm saying, this is family. This is family that you're watching. And I think Family Karma also, it's like, if we were even talking about it from a stylistic standpoint, the colors are so vibrant.
Gorgeous. Love it.
You're learning about a different culture, even though we're seeing all the similarities between all of our cultures. That's the stuff where I'm like, but I will say it's hard because from a network conglomerate standpoint, you're like, okay, these numbers at a certain point, what I don't, what's that break even point? What is that break even point where it's like, it's not worth it for the network to continue on with this? And I think a lot of fans, we talk tough and then we sometimes don't show up. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to not you guys are awesome. You're here, you watch everything. But I notice just online a lot, you will see a lot of the discourse be completely negative, and then they'll wonder why these shows disappear. They'll wonder why we don't get that 4th season. And it's like, these people are ready to go. These people are raring to go. I mean, and I came to Family Karma late, and I loved it. So the fact that I don't get to have another season, and I don't have anybody but myself to blame potentially because I didn't see it those first 2 seasons, that is something that I think about, that I don't want to continually make that same mistake down the line.
Well, I feel like there's no announcement that it's canceled, but obviously they haven't said anything about it, and they've announced other shows and not this one. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm annoyed by the whole situation. I need lots of closure. I need lots of storylines to wrap up in my mind. And when I had Amrit and Nicholas on, they were like, what you do, is if you just make sure you're watching it on Peacock, because that, they're tracking that. And if you're hashtagging Family Karma and all this, and I was like, I don't know, man, I don't think it's going to come back. And I'm sad.
You told
about
them
that
to their faces?
No, I'm telling it to you.
I thought you said I was talking to him, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's coming back. I was like, wow, did they react to that? Were they bummed that you said that? I was like, I would never say that. Wow.
No, I'm saying it to you.
you have a show like Married to Medicine, which doesn't, like they've kept that for so many seasons. So I
Yeah.
think there is hope. I'm curious behind the scenes what the actual situation is, but also that same conversation can be had for Shaws of Sunset as well. Even though
Mm-hmm.
Shaw's was a little darker than Family Karma in a lot of
Totally.
ways,
A
but
lot
there
of
are
ways.
these shows that you're like, this is a part of Bravo's history. I do know that it's a financial money making operation, but I think when something like Scandival happens, it's a time, and I think they're doing this to kick it out to other shows and say, you like this? Well, look at all what we have. We have this whole database, we have this whole history, and that's why I think Bravo is something to be celebrated, because now we actually have a history of this. You can go back and study this network that has been so many years now. And we, it's like, it is interesting. There will one day be a museum about this network. And that's why things like BravoCon are so exciting, because it's a time to celebrate this. Like, I mean, could they ever legitimately do a 90-day fiance con without having prison being a big part of it? Like, how many people would be
Um,
arrested at 90-day fiance con?
well, if they could put it together with Love After Lockup Con, then
Oh,
I'm there. I'm there.
I love Love After Lockup so much.
It's
Oh, that's
coming
the
Friday. Coming
I
Friday.
love that so much more than 90 Day Fiance. Like, I got so into Love After Lockup this past season. It was my go-to Friday show after Scandival would happen, and I would be up all night recording, and then that was like my treat show on Friday nights, because I don't cover it, and I love Love After Lockup, because 90 Day Fiance would get me mad and it would be 2 hours, but Love After Lockup, you got an hour and you're always bummed. You're always bummed when it's over. Like, I want
Oh
more
yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
Also, it's 2 hours now, so lucky.
Well, okay. Well, fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I'm glad for more. Hopefully it's worth it. But I am scared, because isn't this love during lockup? So it's not love after lockup. Is that right?
I believe what we have coming up is love. I have to look at my calendar, but I believe it's love during. It's love during. I tell you, it's so interesting because I have a lot of listeners that'll reach out and be like, "Oh my God, you know that girl that was on? She's my mailman." What? They'll
Yeah,
get,
these
let's
people.
get a picture with her at the mailbox. I'm like,
Well,
okay.
originally when I was watching Love After Lockup, I would get angry because at the first couple of like seasons I watched, because they were making these people do acting that they couldn't do. Like, they weren't good at. Like,
No.
they would only have like one camera guy there, and I would be noticing they'd be filming from separate angles, and I'm like, wait a sec. So they're like having these people redo getting into a car, then putting the camera in the car, having the person get back in the car, and these are like run and gun, like small little skeleton operation crews.
Yeah,
So I was like, and
totally.
you could tell some of these people can't act their way out of a bag. But then I think in this last season, it started getting more real, and I started getting a little bit more where I was like, this is not like staged. Not, I mean, elements are staged, of course, but also the funny thing with 90 Day Fiance and these shows, I love them, but I will not. There's something in my mind that won't let me remember their names. Like, I don't even, I'm just like, yeah, the mode, you want to, like, I've never, and I love the show dearly, but something in my head won't let me remember their names.
Well, maybe that's a self-preservation tactic. Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember
So
their
yeah,
name, it's like too far. It's too
yeah, it's too
far.
far. Before we wrap up, I want to ask your feelings on the Kim and Croy situation, because I was following that like a scandal. I was like, "What's happening here now?" I don't believe that they are getting back together. I think that they had lawyers that sat them down and was like, legally, you should probably stay married for financial reasons and stop this nonsense. Because I think in another week or so, we're going to see another, I got to call the cops on Croy,
Oh
don't
yeah,
you?
but the sad thing is though, Kim was on Atlanta like 2 episodes ago, and it was like a really boring appearance. I thought it was like, if and people were saying, like, they all like to say with Scandal, it's like, it's all staged. Oh, this is all staged. Like, they're just trying to get back on the show. And I'm like, cool, but not necessarily, because if they were trying to get back on the show, when Kim did that appearance, Kim would be like, I'm having huge issues with Croy right now. It is
Yeah.
bad. It is not good. Because that would be like the camera crews would perk up of like, really? Do we need to follow this? Because everything that was happening with those police cam, body cam footage of,
Yeah.
like, it's wild stuff. It's very real. And
And
to me,
little
oh,
kids.
dude, those kids. And it's really that, to me, I would actually love to know the reality of that. I would love to have cameras there that were already there picking this stuff up. And I think the majority, I mean, who knows? Like you said, this could, once again, it probably will happen again, but it seems like some really nasty stuff was in the process of going down. And It is interesting. Like I don't usually side with men, but Croy, it does seem like Kim has some issues
Yeah.
potentially, and
Hmm.
I very, and by the way, we've always kind of celebrated Kim for her wackiness. Like, I remember watching that season of their show where they were like on a trip in an RV and they stopped on the side of the road and she bought like thousands of dollars worth of crystals from like a crystal salesman. Like, it's like obviously you're having financial issues. Like, like you're dropping
Yeah.
money on the sides of the road for crystals. You're like, I need to
Yeah.
have this. So like, of course this was bound to happen if none of these people are working. Like, it's just wild though, because you do think of those kids and they all seem like, the little ones especially seem like really nice kids. And I can't imagine the horror that some of those kids might be feeling if all of this, if you have cops visiting on a weekly basis, that's
Yeah.
scary as hell. But
Yeah.
Kim, we've seen Kim's opera, like, I was like, does Kim have to go out and find a new Big Papa? Like, you all of a sudden your mind goes to your mind starts self-producing. Your mind goes like, okay, and then what does Croy do? And you start going like, okay, how does this fit back into the show? And also it's like, would Kim be willing to be honest? If she's willing to be honest, then yeah, there of course is a place for her, especially on Atlanta after this really stinker, I think, of a season, even though I like all of the
Agree.
ladies individually. There
Yep.
is a place, but it's like, do you want to be that honest? It's the same thing with Kyle. Kyle has never been extremely open about her actual life. Even the fights with her
Yep.
sisters have come from sometimes the other sisters' perspectives. Even
Yep.
Mauricio, they haven't had any blowups, huge blowups on the show. So how honest is Kyle willing to get? Because Kyle's always very protective, middle of the road, and she's always been able to ride that fence. But it's the same thing with Kim. If Kim's willing to be honest, she could make a really big splash return that I think we would be kind of jaw dropped about finding out, like, well, that was all for show and this is the, like, I would love to find out the reality of that. But if she's not willing to share that reality, I don't need her back.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I don't really necessarily think we need a spinoff like Kim McCroy's divorce special. I don't need
By the
that.
way, that would be an amazing Kim and Croy in mediation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need that. I think her coming back in the ensemble and needing her friends or whatnot, whether she's talked to them in years or not, I don't know. But I think we're gonna come up here on Atlanta with the Drew and Ralph situation, and he's so gross. And I barely saw it this past week. All I saw was they had flown to Portugal and they're sitting around and Drew was like, yeah. And so anyway, they want Ralph to be in this chocolate magic. And they were like, Ralph, your
Yeah.
husband? Gross. She was
Ralph's
like,
like
what?
Ralph's such a good looking dude, but he's such a tool that people like forget that he's a good looking dude. Like he's like comes off like
He's such a jerk.
yeah,
Such
he's
a
just
jerk.
such that jerk that it takes away how good looking the man actually is. Which now that I'm actually thinking about it, Mary Payne, how much do you think Kim has spent on the Powerball today?
Ooh, so if I spend $100
Yeah, exactly.
in Kim dollars, that's $50K. That's $50K.
I mean, legitimately, I'm not joking. I bet she spent $2,000 at least on Powerball tickets
For
in
sure.
this week.
For
Yeah,
sure. Because
that's her way
you
out.
but I'll never again ever spend $100 on the Powerball. It's just I
That's
got
not
swept.
true. That's not true. You got swept up.
I got swept up in the moment. I did.
If you
I
win
did.
$5 tonight, you're back immediately the next week.
Well, in my mind, then I only spent 95. It's really crazy. And so you and I will be at BravoCon together.
Yeah.
And I never been to Vegas in my life.
Oh God. Oh wow.
I know.
This could really be a potential problem for you now that I'm thinking about it with all that.
And we're going for 5 nights. And my understanding is that's 4 nights too long. So
That's a thing with Vegas. It is, you feel it. Like it is a town that is meant to be visited like 3 days, maybe at most. So
Yeah.
those, there's a real come to Jesus moment to be had in Vegas after that long, because it is so tempting to be like, wait, you're telling me if all goes well, I could win more money than I have now. And it never works out that way because you would never walk away. So even when you do make that money, you're like, you know what? I'm going to spend $100 of this money because it felt so good to make it. And then you're like, you lose that 100 and you're like, you know what? It's not going to kill me if I spend another 100. It's not going to kill anybody.
I
And
know.
then that's truly what it's like TikTok. Vegas is TikTok.
Yes, and we have wrapped it all around, Ryan. This is like the two most professional podcasters in the history of all time right here. We didn't even plan it. Oh my God. Well, so tell me, what are you watching that's not Bravo besides 90 Day and Friday Love After Lockup?
All the Bravo, all that. What am I watching? I just watched season 2 of The Bear, which is the scripted television show on FX. I loved it.
So good. Wasn't it so good?
Loved it. Still watching The Kardashians, which I enjoy from a meta level. I think it's hysterical. I look forward to it every week because it's so ridiculous. I just watched a great documentary on HBO Max about Rock Hudson, All That Heaven Allows, which I thought was amazing. What else did I watched Love Island. I'm a big Love Island UK guy. I watch Love Island every day. And I think it's a real time commitment because it's every day for 3 months, but
it is a time commitment.
Yeah. But like once you get past like the first week and a half where you hate them, you start to really get into it, which is hard. It's a hard sell on a show of like, you're going to hate yourself for 2 weeks, but then you're going to love it. And it does pay off in spades. Love Island USA premiered last night, but I don't think I'm going to get into that because
how about the Silver Bachelor? Are you going to watch that?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Sure. Like I want to yes, you know what? I am actually interested to see if there are differences in the age ranges in dating and how older women approach dating. I think there is something fascinating about that. So yeah, I'm down for a new iteration of that. I'm totally down. By the way, love is something fascinating. That's why 90 Day Fiancé, it's such a pure idea is that like at the end of the day, all of these people want love. It's just they go about it in such messed up, horrifying ways. But at the end of the day, they just want somebody to actually love. So, yeah, I think I'm totally down for that. I need Bachelor to switch up in some way because I can't deal with the actual Bachelor show anymore.
The thing about The Bachelor is similar to Love Island UK, that it's just so many hours per week. It's like Big Brother or whatever. Like I can't I'm already doing 6 hours a 90 day in a week that I have to recap. Like I need a show. That's why I like Crappie Lake. It's like a little small bite that I can watch and enjoy and I don't have to take a note on because I already know it. I just know what happened. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, when you're watching those 2-hour shows, it's like you're watching it with like a weighted vest on. And so when you watch a 21-minute show, it feels like there's nothing. It's easy. It's like, damn, I can do this in my sleep.
Yes, literally. You just put it on and go to sleep. Yeah. It's so appealing. Well, everybody knows where to find you, but go ahead and tell everybody where to find you and your podcast and your Instagram and all that jazz.
Yeah, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. Bunch of shows a week, pop culture, Bravo. We dip into a little of everything. The Instagram, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey as well. Go follow me there. Silly memes. I'll post a lot of the stuff that I'm watching or who I'm talking to. Good. And then patreon.com/So Bad It's Good. We're going to be covering recaps of the new RHONY on there. Ooh. And starting with the second episode. And I did like a 3.5-hour Patreon Q&A yesterday while I was driving to Arizona. I just did everybody's questions while I was driving. And so there's a 3.5-hour Q&A episode out there right now, which sounds ridiculous, but it actually was a lot of fun. And people had great questions, which was a mix of Bravo and personal. So yeah, check that out if that's your thing too.
So you were driving and podcasting. Were you alone or did you have a sidekick?
I was alone.
And you just had your phone in the holder and you were just looking at questions.
I had the AirPod in and like I was able to edit a lot of the wind out because you hear the wind blowing through but it actually passed the time. I thought it was going to be annoying, but it actually passed the time. Like I was listening to an audio book at the time, which I had to put down, but it was a lot of fun. It got me into Arizona way quicker. It just kind of time flew. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay, everybody go over and follow Ryan on Patreon. So
you're putting YouTube as well. Sorry. So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey on YouTube. Because Maritza does the YouTube and puts everything up and makes graphics. It's beautiful. So go subscribe to the YouTube if you want to watch the visual representation.
Yeah, we're not doing this on video today. And listen, I can only do so much video a week, Ryan, because, for you just have to sit in a chair and look like yourself. For me, I got to like spackle on a whole face and I just couldn't do it today.
You look great right now. What are you talking about? I don't know. Yeah, I get. It's different. I just assume everything is video now. So, but legitimately, I'm in basketball shorts and I just threw on this light little jacket because I was like, okay, that'll be. I didn't shower yet today, so we're good.
You're like waist up. I look great. Yeah.
Not even that. Yeah, it's like I look bad everywhere, but at least you can't say waist down. That's good.
I want you to work on your sweating problem before BravoCon.
Yeah, by the way, you got like Ingrid got to see, like Ingrid took the pictures of me. I brought this moment up, I think, on Monday's episode at BravoCon. You guys were there when I met Sutton, and
Yeah.
Mary Payne goes up to Sutton, like has this great conversation. I go up
Oh
to
yeah.
Sutton, I'm like, I'm soaked. I'm like just soaked. I'm so nervous. Like my whole body, when I get nervous, my whole body turns to water. And I've talked to people that have said I can do Botox to stop the sweating, but the sweat comes from everywhere. I can't Botox my entire body. And also
Right.
I'm scared if I'm sweating this much, maybe my body needs to release this water. So if I find some way to stop it up, is it going to am I going to explode if the water doesn't come out I honestly, I'm joking about it, but I honestly do like, how do I figure this out? Because I can't be doing this for the rest of my life.
You need to talk to a doctor, and perhaps you're not hydrated enough, and that's why you sweat. I don't know.
Wait, isn't the hydrate? Maybe I'm too hydrated and it needs to come out.
No.
No,
Sometimes if you sweat a lot, it's because you're dehydrated.
but I also want
And
to
then you
tell
really,
people it's
yeah.
not smelly sweat. I just want to be clear. Like that
No.
sounds disgusting. It's weirdly not smelly sweat, which I'm not trying to brag. Believe me, I'm not. But it's not, because I've legitimately had that fear as well. And I've had a lot of people do smell tests on me with the sweat, and it's okay. It's not like sweet or anything, but it's okay. So
I smelled
okay.
you and you did not
Yeah.
stink. It's not the kind of what we call in our house the outside smell. Like
Yeah,
you've walked to the dogs and you come in, you have outside stinky smell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
not
just
like I've
it's
been
like a
working in the coal mines all day, and it's like a mixture of. But it is weird. It is funny, and it's one of those things where I'm like, it took me at that RHONY premiere. It took me like an hour inside the actual premiere for my body to come back to some sort of normal level. It was wild.
maybe you need to wear more moisture wicking clothing. I don't know. There's
Yeah,
an
well,
answer for you. There's an answer for you.
I just show up in all workout gear everywhere I go. Like that's amazing.
You're like, I'm just on my way to work out. I thought I'd stop by this party. I'm Ryan.
Or like I need to make one of those, like I saw this in New York, some kid was wearing like this head fan with like two fans, like it wore it around his neck and had two fans pointing up, and I was like, maybe I could make that look cool, like some kind of 2-fan operation that had like the So Bad logo on it.
So, Brian, here at Pink Shade, we always have our trusty. This is one of we call it a personal fan. And I have one with the logo, and I'm going to send it to you.
Oh my God. I will gladly use that in all of my videos.
Yeah. And I'll have our logo, and it's just branding. All right, everybody, you go make sure to follow Ryan on So Bad It's Good. Follow his Instagram. It's great. And I'm going to tag him in some Instagram posts, and maybe like 12 of his followers will come over here, and maybe I'll help my Instagram situation because it's struggling, but I'm trying. I'm out here, Ryan, I'm pouring myself out for every single Instagram follower. I will never buy one. You can offer all you want, but I'm never.
I will say I've never bought an Instagram follower, and it's like one of my big pride and joys that I never had to do that. But it is weird. It's like it's crawling up that. It's such a it's like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill. And even after you get like, then you're like, well, I got to get to 80,000 now, and I got to get to. It's like never ends. So the only thing I do is just like I just go like, what's the silliest joke that I can possibly think of, and who like, and I care definitely, but it's one of those things of like, I'll just, hopefully people like my stupid jokes. And, it's like, with the podcast stuff, you notice that when you post like podcast stuff, those get like limited engagement. Like you hope to like have a couple new people see it, but it's one of those things we always turn away. And the algorithm for Instagram is so weird anyways, that they know when you're like trying to promote your actual thing. So they kind of put like they put the stoppage on that unless you're paying them. So it is interesting how Instagram works. So I try to have like as much, the things that like, just as long as I can make myself laugh. Like, and like sometimes I'll make myself laugh so much and nobody else laughs. And those are the fun times when I've missed, when I was like, oh, people are going to find this so funny because I find it hysterical and nobody finds it funny. And then that kind of makes me laugh too. I'm like, oh my God.
You're an idiot, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. All right, everybody follow us, follow Ryan, and I will talk to you later. Oh, guys, here on the free feed, there'll be an interview with Mark L. Wahlberg of Temptation Island coming on Friday, and I've never been more excited about anything in my whole life. We freaking love Mark L. Wahlberg. I'm so excited. Okay, so that'll be Friday. Bye, guys.